Testing, testing, testing. All right, what's going on? What's happening, everybody? May peace and power and elevation be to all you beautiful people out there. It's your girl Tiffany coming through here live in effect. So today's topic is going to be about an engineer, and his name was Jerry Lawson. So give me a second. All right, so Jerry Lawson was an engineer, a black engineer. He was known for creating what we call today the video game system. So if it wasn't for him, right, we wouldn't even be able to play games like the PlayStation, the Sega, the Nintendo, Xbox, you name it, Nintendo 64, you name it. We grew up playing these games back in the 90s and the 2000s. So I know I was a big video game fanatic. But before that, they had the little ping pong game and used to play the little Pac-Man at the little arcades. So he created a system where people can be able to play on the controllers and all of that. So it's like one of the first carousel that came out around the 80s, the early 80s. All right, so anybody that grew up in the early 80s and the late 70s, they know about this carousel. So what I want to do is go ahead and share the information. And before I get started, make sure you guys like the channel, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. All right. So what I want to do is pull up the screen. That is Mr. Jerry Lawson in his later years. And what you see is the channel F. So that was one of the first game system that came out. And again, this came out like in the early 80s. All right. Okay. So he was a pioneer behind that. So as you can see, he has a game of pinball, which was one of my favorites growing up playing. All right. What made me decide to do this video is because I seen that Google had something to as far as like dedication to him. All right. So they was dedicating this day to him because today is his birthday. And he would have been 82 years old if he was alive. All right. So I figured that I just go ahead and share this information with you guys. So now it's not a whole lot I was able to find on him, but let's go to IGN.com. So it says Jerry Lawson, the black man who revolutionized gaming as we know it. And this came about on February 28th of 2019. So his name was Gerald Jerry Lawson. So it says at 6'6" and 280 pounds, Jerry Lawson, a black man, was extremely far from the stereotypical image of an engineer and an inventor in the 1970s America, or even today. But then nothing about Jerry's life was stereotypical. Black inventor and self-taught engineer Gerald Jerry Lawson was one of the few black engineers of his time. Yet he was almost left out of the tone of gaming history. With his work on the Fairchild Channel F carousel, Jerry was the first to innovate the use of interchangeable cartridges in consumer gaming, carousels changing the landscape of the game industry as we know it. So in 2018, the game industry estimated worth was 138 million billions of dollars, and is built on the backbone of the consumer flexibility, being able to play multiple games comfortably in your home or on the go. None of this modern day success would have been possible if it wasn't for Jerry Lawson, but let's start at the beginning. So the video game industry is booming. It's at an all-time high. It's at an all-time high. So a lot of people get into playing the game system, especially whether it be PlayStation 5 or what's the other one? Is it Xbox 360? I think it's Xbox 360 if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. But yeah, a lot of people get into playing those games right now. Those carousels cost a lot of money. You talking about paying between $400 to $500 just to buy those game systems. They very expensive. All right, they very expensive. So it's been a long time since I played them. The last game I played was a PlayStation 3. All right, that's the last carousel I played, and after that, I pretty much stopped playing video games. I pretty much gave up on them. All right, so let's just go ahead and get started. So he was born on December the 1st of 1940 in Brooklyn, New York. Gerald Jerry Lawson was raised by his father and mother, Blanton Lawson and Manny Lawson, in Queens. Jerry fondly gave his father the nickname of Science Bug. All right. Per an interview with Vintage Computing and Gaming that I'll be heavily in this piece. All right, anyways, so no matter how long Blanton's Lofton shift was at the docks that day, he would come home to devour science magazines. Jerry's mother, Manny, worked for the city of New York, but she spent a lot of her time encouraging young Jerry to focus on his education. She made sure he went to the best schools, often interviewing the staff and teachers to make sure they fit the bill. She even became the PTA president in Jerry's grade school, which was composed of 99% white students. It was here that his first grade teacher, Miss Goebel, helped Jerry see a future of success. In that 2009 interview with Vintage Computing and Gaming, Lawson said he told Miss Goebel, "I have a picture of George Washington Carver on the wall next to my desk." And she said, "This could be you." Lawson continued, "Now, the point I'm getting at is this kind of influence is what led me to feel I want to be a scientist. I want to be something." All right, so going down, it says Miss Goebel's words stuck in his mind, and Jerry proceeded to deeply involve himself in his interest in electronics and engineering. At 13, this precarious and smart kid built radios alongside researching how to start his own licensed radio station. He found out that if you lived in federally funded housing, you could easily obtain a radio license. So in Jamaica, Queens, Jerry did just that, often building and maintaining his own radio equipment from scratch. So Jerry often tell people that military engineer was good training for consumer because consumer products actually have to be stronger than military. All right, then it goes on to say in this article that he even built an effective small enterprise fixing neighbors' electronic. Jerry loved taking things apart, learning how to work things. Learning how things work and then putting them back together again. Eventually, translate to studying engineering in college. Lawson attended Queens College and CCNY, but never received a formal degree from either institution. In the 1970s, after school, he worked for Federal Electronic ITT, where he encountered his first computer. He also worked for Grumman Aircraft and PRD Electronics or Electrics, jumping back and forth between different disciplines and departments between the varying companies. In the aforementioned vintage computing and gaming interview, Lawson told the reporter that his work in private sector is what prepared him for the wild landscape of consumer electronics. Jerry would often tell people that military engineer was good training for consumer because consumer products actually had to be stronger than military. So it goes into the history of Nintendo hardware 1977 to now, right? So at the time, Jerry was one of the very few black engineers in the field. When asked by vintage computing and gaming how being a black engineer affected his job prospect, Mr. Lawson responded, it could be both a plus and a minus. Where it could be a plus is that in some regards, you got a lot, shall we say, eyes watching you. As a result, if you did good, you did twice as good because you got instant notoriety about it. So now just go on to the review. So basically, during that time period in the 70s, it wasn't as many black people in the STEM program. All right. So he happened to be one of the few people that was involved in engineering. And to this day, it's still like that because black people are very underrepresented in the STEM fields. All right. They are underrepresented. So when we talk about the highest group of people that's in what we call today the STEM, okay, what we call today the STEM field will be the Caucasian and the Asian people. That's who you'll see mostly. So you won't see any other group out there like that. So that's why black people, whether they black immigrants, African Americans, or whatnot, they still going to be underrepresented because it's not enough of our people in those fields. Or if they are, they're not going to gain enough recognition. So yes, there is institutional racism. We gotta call it what it is. So now, all right. So now going further down, it says by the mid 70s, Jerry Lawson made a big move to Silicon Valley to work on military devices for Kaiser Electronics, focusing mostly on aircraft display. Jerry joined Fairchild Semiconductor Incorporated when he received a better opportunity to work outside the linear structure of the typical office environment at Fairchild. It was here that he was able to go out in the field to market new ideas and concepts. Fairchild was an innovative company in its own right, manufacturing transistors and integrated circuits for electronics. Fairchild allowed him to become something no one ever heard of, a recruiter for freelance engineers. In the 70s, this was a bold move and a radical idea. All right. So it says if Fairchild had a Yelp page in the 1970s, they would have had 2 stars, all citing poor customer service. Jerry recalled his first couple of months with Fairchild in his VC and G interview. When I was there for the first 6 months, I had, there's a problem here. The problem is that Fairchild is not known for being helpful for customers, and I've got an image to overcome. How the heck to break down that image they have? So Jerry worked to connect Fairchild more directly to his audience to provide a one-on-one personal experience. With the help of Fairchild's marketing department, Jerry was able to convert an RV into an interactive space with rear-facing screens, literature about the company, and a lab on wheels. The experiment paid off. It looked like something from James Bond, Jerry said. It even had a rear projection screen that came out of the ceiling. It turned out to be an overwhelming success, so they came back to me and said, "We want you to do it again." Ooh, okay. I don't know how that came up. Hold on, hold on. All right, my bad. That's the advertisement. So, and it goes on to say Jerry's foray into games started as a hobby when his old buddy, punk creator Alan Alcorn, put the first pawn machine into one of their local pubs. Alcorn had issues with the coin mechanism of his machine after the local kids continually after the local kids continually jerry rigged it to get the free game. They stick hangers in the slot to fool the mechanism into thinking there was an actual coin inside, allowing them to play again for free. Inspired, Jerry decided to make his own cabinet featuring a game called Demolition Derby. Jerry built his cabinet with a joint jiggle function that made playing for free impossible for the neighborhood kids. So, so back in the day, kids used to go to the arcades and they'll play in the little coin machines. All right. So when they want to play again, they would jerk the machines or put something in it to so they will be able to play. So again, there was no video game system during that time period. Now you're talking about the 70s, where they would go to the arcade or to the little corner store and play those games. Right. But ever since the new technology of game system came into play, you don't see as many kids going to arcades because now they get stuck on playing games, not only on the carousel, but now they got to where all the game system that was once on Sega, on Nintendo, on PlayStation, Xbox is all on the computer. All you gotta do is have a little keyboard and you can play the games on there. So, yep. Hey there. Hey sister, how you doing? She put, glad I caught alive. I needed to hear his story this morning. I'm a STEM major and we are extremely underrepresented in these fields. This inspired me to keep pushing. Okay, so I have a question. What major are you in as far as STEM is concerned? That's great that you're in the STEM field. So, but what major are you in? If you don't mind sharing that with me. But yes, and that is true that a lot of black people are underrepresented. That's why when you hear about the concept of cultural anthropology, I mean not cultural anthropology, cultural astronomy, not many people know what cultural astronomy is because the people that really study into those things, right, they're not really represented. So when you got people that study about cosmology, not many people know about cosmology because cosmology, even though it's science, but it's looked at as philosophy in a way. But the people that really study cosmology or study real what is it called? Theoretic what is it called? Let me look up the term down. Hold on, let me find that term. Theoretical physics, my bad. Okay, now that's the term I'm looking for. All right. So you got people that study theoretical physics or cosmology, and also people that deals with cultural astronomy, right? They oftentimes going to be underrepresented because it's almost like they don't have any form of relevancy in the field unless it's under those who are in the dominant group. But other than that, they don't have too much relevancy. So if you do hear about black people, the a few names that you're gonna hear is someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson. Neil deGrasse Tyson is one of them, and then there's another brother. His name is Hakeem. Aluseli. So you'll hear about Hakeem Aluseli and you will hear about Neil deGrasse Tyson. Those are the only two black people that you mainly hear about when it comes to the STEM field. But everybody else, you don't hear too much about. They don't gain that much reputation. So, but if you can tell me what type of field that you're in as far as field of study, that'll be cool. All right. Let's see what else we can find over here. So it goes on to say Fairchild soon heard about Jerry's extracurricular activity, which put him in some hot water with the company, believing that he was going to try and branch out on his own. Instead of firing the buddy gaming engineer, though Fairchild asked Jerry if he wanted to develop games for them, the project was top secret. Jerry would only report to Vice President Lawson. Lawson built the gaming division at Fairchild from the ground up. I was the number one employee, he told Vintage Computer and Game. My set task was to work on the prototype and hire a bunch of people to work with me, most of which came from Fairchild. The Fairchild Channel F system, as it was officially called, was always meant to be at home gaming machine. It was its cartridge technology set, however, that set it above the competition. Lawson and his team had to figure out how to plug and unplug the cartridges without the customer being slightly maimed by explosion in the process. We were afraid we didn't have the statistics on multiple insertion and what it would do and how we would do it because it wasn't done. Jerry told Vintage Computer and Gaming. I mean, think about it. Nobody had the capability of plugging in memory devices in mass quantity like a consumer product. Nobody. All right, so as you can see, if you guys want to read more into this, you can. But so basically, um, due to his technological advances and his idea, it helped to enhance the video game industry, like as we know of today. So with all the memory cards, um, the carousels and all of that, that pretty much brought about improvement. So shout out to this brother and shout out to the great works that he has done in the field. All right, so Oh, oh shit. Oh my bad. Damn. Let me start that back again. Oh my bad. My bad. Oh my goodness. Damn, I was reading for the whole time. Let me start over. Okay, you guys. Damn. I don't know how that happened. I don't know how that happened. Damn, my bad. All right, let me start back over. All right, so what I was reading at. So I was reading that while he was with Fairchild, Lawson and Ron Jones were the sole black members of the Homebrew Computer Club, a group of early computer hobbyists that included several who became well known, including Apple founders Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. Lawson noted he interviewed Wozniak for a position at Fairchild, but he did not hire him. Okay. So it says in 1980, Lawson left Fairchild and founded VideoSoft, a video game development company that made software for the Atari 2600 in the early 1980s, as the 2600 had displaced the Channel F as the top system in the market. So VideoSoft closed about 5 years later, and Lawson started to take on consulting work. At one point, he worked with Stevie Wonder to produce a Wonder clock that would wake a child with the sound of a parent's voice, though it never made it to production. Lawson collaborated with the Stanford Mentor Program and was preparing to write a book on his career. All right, so dang. Okay, so it says that he passed away around 2000. Around 2003, Lawson started having complications from diabetes and losing the use of one leg and sight from one eye. So on April 9th, 2011, about 1 month after being honored by the IGDA, he died from the complication of diabetes. At the time of his death, he resided in Santa Clara, California, and was survived by his wife, 2 children, and his brother. All right. So it goes down talking about his legacy. On March 2011, he was honored as an industry pioneer for his work on the game cartridge concept by the International Game Developer Association, and he was honored with the ID at Xbox Gaming Heroes Award at the 21st Independent Games Festival on March 20th of 2019 for leading the development of the first cartridge-based game Carousel. And there is a display of Lawson's contribution to the gaming industry on permanent display at the World Video Game Hall of Fame at the Strong National Museum of Play in Rochester, New York. And there's an elementary school named after him in LA, which is called the Jerry A. Lawson Academies of the Arts, Mathematics, and Science. And there's a short documentary on his development of the Fairchild Channel F, which was produced by Czar of Black Hollywood, director Bear Mack, and released by Block Stars Music Television as part of Profiles of African American Success video series. Okay, so he was also featured on the episode of the Netflix limited series High Score release on August 19th of 2020 with his story told by his children, Karen and Anderson. Okay, and then it's also another episode season 6 of Command Line Heroes. Jerry Lawson, the engineer who changed the game, covered his work on Channel F. So he was also prominently featured in the second episode of the second season of History, the Toys That Built America, the birth of video games, along with other pioneers of the early video game industry, Nolan Bushnell and Ralph Barr. University of Southern California Game Program and Take-Two Interactive established the Gerald A. Lawson Fund in May of 2021 to support Black and Indigenous students enrolled in the university program and seeking careers in the video game industry. Microsoft also began contributing to the fund in August of 2021. The game Doodle on December the 1st, 2022 was dedicated to Lawson to celebrate what would have been his 82nd birthday, allowing the user to make games and modify existing and built games. All right, so if you guys want to look more to this, there's a citation, and then there's the reference at the bottom of the page. Okay, so All right, so that's the information about Jerry Lawson, and I'm sorry about the sound cutting off. I didn't know what happened. So I apologize for that. But yeah, that's the information. And that's all I have for this video. So PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, and Sega, all the people who have created and found these game systems, they should give dedication and thanks to someone like Jerry Lawson, who was pretty much a mastermind to make it possible for people to have carousels in their homes, playing the system, using game controllers and all of that. Saying, memory cards and stuff. That was him. That was his idea. That was something that he came up with. He was the mastermind behind it. He made it possible. All right. So I believe that this man deserves a lot of credit. And shout out to him. He is the Igun, which means professor in Yoruba. So he shall be honored and venerated for his work. All right. So for all you game heads out there, y'all look up Jerry Lawson. Look up Jerry Lawson and um look up his biography and look at his invention and the things that he have done and how he had contributed to the STEM. All right, then. So with that being said, I hope you all have a good one, and I hope you all be safe. So next time, peace and power and elevation be to all of you. And this your girl Tiffany, and I'm logging off saying deuces. And again, thank everybody that's coming through. All right, be safe.